Welcome to Inside ELAS, the podcast where we explore how AI is transforming the way we do literature reviews. I'm your host, Josien Boetje, and with me is ASReview founder and AI expert Rens van der Schoot. Each episode, we talk to researchers, students, and practitioners about their experiences using AI-assisted screening with ASReview. The highs, the hurdles, and everything in between. Whether you're deep into systematic reviews or just curious about how an algorithm ended up helping with your reading list, you're in the right place. Today, we're joined by Rob Beffers, the AI platform product owner at the RIVM, also known as the Dutch National Institute for Public Health and the Environment, and Emily Westerbeek, a data specialist at ASReview. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you here. And of course, I'm always very interested. Yeah, you work at the RIVM, Rob. How did you get into ASReview?
I think someone pointed out that ASReview exists and asked me whether it's good to go into that direction or choose a competitor. And then I went to the university, met Rens and the team. And then I was sold. So
you were sold, but you're talking about competitors. What kind of parties could be a competitor of ASReview?
I try not to know their names. So
that's great. But what kind of, is that a commercial
they
services?
are all commercial.
So that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And you said, I was sold. What made you being sold to this project?
Well, the fact that it's not commercial.
Yes.
The fact that the Rens was very collaborative. So he asked for our collaboration and asked for our input. So instead of me having to find budget and pay license fees, I could tell what I would like for ASReview.
Great.
Extra functionality, etc.
So it's really a collaboration. It's not you using a product, actually.
It is.
Yeah. Nice. What about you, Emily? What was your first experience, or how did you get to know ASReview?
So I initially applied for a job at the library from the Utrecht University, and they had this very nice big project, which I didn't really know about. So Rens invited me to come over on a Thursday, and I just spent the day there meeting everybody, and I really liked that environment actually. So at that point, I was sort of getting myself involved there. Yeah,
because you're now you are the data specialist, but what's your background? Because you're talking about the library, I think of books. So
yes, indeed, a long time ago it was just books for the library. But nowadays there is so much on the internet, so much has been digitalized that the library has a lot of people working to support the whole university actually. And you can think of things like publishing, making sure all the rights are good, so about the licenses, making sure personal information is treated the right way. Yeah. We support a lot of things there, and also projects like ASReview.
Yeah, and can you tell me a little bit more about what's your job? What are you doing, and what are you contributing to ASReview?
I think my main job is working on the Synergy project, which I will tell more about later. And besides that, we are sitting on the Thursday at the library every week. And in there, people are doing various projects, and all of them just involve data. So I try to help out with everything practically. So all of their projects. We have one larger project, the Improve project, which is a large consortium where I manage the data. And
we talk a lot about data, but Rob, can you tell us more? What does data look like in your case at RIVM? What's the data you put into ASReview?
Well, data, of course, is a flat file containing texts.
Yeah, great. It's a nice explanation. Yes.
Oh, that's enough?
Well, that's a nice start. Okay, it's a plain file containing text. That's the basis. But then what kind of text?
Well, we also have a library at RIVM where information specialists extract data, papers from known sources, scientific papers. So we have that kind of people, and we also have a lot of PhD candidates who are searching literature for their research.
Yeah, so it's mainly literature titles and abstracts probably.
Yeah, we had a couple of use cases where we had other information.
Yeah.
Web scraping is prohibited for organizations like the RIVM. So, but we do gather information from the internet, substances, new substances, for example.
Yeah.
And then we can use ASReview to reduce the amount of time necessary to read them all, to find the interesting.
So there's a data, and then Emily, what would be a data set in this case?
When we're talking about synergy, a data set would contain everything that was screened during a systematic review.
Okay.
So a systematic review starts with a search from databases, and you get all these records. And usually if people publish their work, they say, okay, we eventually use these 20 papers.
Exactly. You only mention the inclusions with an asterisk in the reference list or somewhere
But if
else.
we only have the inclusions, we cannot do a lot with it. We can look at their results, which is useful for their actual research. But if we're looking at what we're doing at ASReview, we actually need all the papers they screened and said these are not relevant. Because if we also have that information, we can do a lot of fun things with it.
Like?
The main thing I would say is test our software.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of models, a lot of different options users can use. And all those models also have parameters, which I think you already heard about. And we need to make sure that those models actually work. And the only way we can do that is if we have that data, so those systematic reviews that have been done, and see if we would have used ASReview, how would it perform? Would we have found all the inclusions, so all the final papers relatively quickly? Did we miss anything? We can answer those kind of questions.
And what are the key challenges when making such a standardized data set?
There are a couple, I think. The first major issue is what we said earlier, that people don't actually put their data online. So they just say...
Availability, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. Nowadays, it is getting better. If we're looking at how many people put their data online in the last couple of years, that's a lot more than everything from before that. So that's a good thing. The second thing, I think, is licenses. That's relatively good with data, but we are not allowed to use just anything. People actually have to put a permissive license on there. So every entry within the Synergy dataset, which is the large collection of those reviews, has a permissive license.
Yeah.
So that's good. And the last thing I would like to say is that we also want the dataset to have a good quality. You will find a lot of things on the internet, and then you look at the paper and they say, we've screened this amount of records, we've included this. And then you look at their data and you go like, this doesn't match. We don't know what happened here. Did I actually put up the right file?
So it's not transparent, or it's a mismatch.
So we really want the datasets in Synergy to be of high quality and correct, because otherwise all the research using it will be less correct. So we check those kind of things as well.
And then maybe you can explain, how does ASReview also help researchers to provide this transparent and full data set? Because I'm just doing a review. I don't want to spend a lot of time standardizing my data set because my work is done, or my fun work. So how does ASReview support me in still sharing my data?
Yeah. So next to exporting the data set with records you screened, we also store the project file, where we also store all the decisions made by the AI. And I think this is why Rob at the RIVM also likes ASReview, because we're very open and transparent. And I think that storing not only the human decisions, but also what AI model has been used, who has screened what record, I think that's helpful, Rob, right? For the RIVM, that we are transparent, or at least we try to be transparent.
Yes, but what is said before, the goal of a researcher is to screen as much papers as he or she can within a certain amount of time. So the last bit, getting the decisions being made back to the ASReview team, so they can enhance the models and the software. That's a bit of a difficult step, because it's not
for your own sake. It's for the others. Yeah. But the work, for example, of Emily, like curating this data set, how is that beneficial for you?
Well, that's an indirect benefit.
Yeah.
So when ASReview gets better,
Mm-hmm.
it's of course in our benefit.
Yeah.
But 1% increase of the performance.
Yeah, of a model, because the model uses the curated data set to be tested. Yeah.
Is not much of a big deal for us.
Well, but luckily version 2 has a 24% performance increase.
Okay. And
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
And what about transparency, Rob? Because you, of course, you also make national guidelines. And of course, you want to be explainable and show also maybe the citizens of the Netherlands, where do our guidelines come from? Yeah, how does that relate to your use and choice for ASReview?
Well, I think as a couple of years ago, it was different than it is now. So explainability 3 years ago, when we started at RIVM with ASReview, was a very big issue.
Yeah.
You cannot sell a policy based on a black box outcome.
And with black box, you mean an AI that does not
which
show
is not
what it's
explainable.
doing. Yeah.
But the confidence in ASReview has evolved. So nowadays I rarely get questions about the explainability and does it do what it promises to do, whereas 2 or 3 years ago that was the main question.
And what happened?
I think it's a shift in thinking within the society as a whole. We get used to using AI tools.
Yeah, and actually maybe becoming less critical, you say? Asking less questions?
Yes, I think
we accept that AI is a valid method to screen, in this case, screen literature.
Yes.
So even if you would not use this transparent system, people might also accept it.
I can remember that there were discussions where people asked me whether they... I was responsible for telling that ASReview can be used. And I asked them, how are you so sure that you find the last paper?
Exactly.
And because I had to tell them that ASReview was going to find the last paper. And the counter question was, how are you so sure that you're not tired and making a wrong decision? How are you so sure that you're finding the last one? And I think specifically for ASReview, but also in the whole society, when you use Copilot or whatever, I think the trust in AI begins to grow.
Yeah. And I was wondering,
which
Emily,
is concerning.
because Rob actually said the curated data sets like Synergy, you put so much effort into it, but it's only an indirect benefit maybe. So what excites you most to keep on working on these curated data sets?
I think there are a lot of benefits. So one of them is the advantage for Rob. But the Synergy data set is actually much bigger than that, because we use it to ensure our software works good, so that people can do better systematic reviews. But it is a very useful database containing so much text for which a small part is relevant. And within the AI field, within looking at the text, that's a very useful data set. And we also saw that we released actually a version of Synergy a couple of years ago with just 26 data sets or 26 reviews. And that one has, I think, by now been downloaded 3 million times already. So if I look at improving the Synergy data set, I actually already know that a lot of people are using it. So that gives a lot of satisfaction, actually, because I know that my work will be used a lot.
And Rens, do you have any idea who are these 3 million people and what are they using Synergy for?
Yeah, so the Synergy dataset is like a benchmark dataset. So many data scientists are using the Synergy dataset.
Can you explain what does benchmark mean?
Yes, because we already know what records in that dataset are relevant and are labeled by humans. So these are very expensive labels. So humans spend hours, weeks, months, years to label the dataset.
These are all human labels.
only human labels. So it's a very expensive data set in terms of human effort. And all the data sets are checked by Emily and by others for high quality. So now we can mimic how AI performs on those data sets. So we actually know if we replace a human by a AI fully, how many mistakes the LLM, the large language model, would make. Or the active learning models as integrated in ASReview, where the AI and human interact with each other. So we know how they would perform on label data sets.
Yeah.
And that led to 24% performance increase.
But who is using it?
Data scientists working at companies. So we had Peter Lombaars once in our podcast. And for example, their company is also constantly testing the performance of their models on the Synergy dataset.
Wow, great. So it's not only beneficial within ASReview, but also for other kinds of AI.
And I know that Rob within the RIVM is also testing the performance of ASReview on their own datasets.
Yes.
And this is why I like this open infrastructure for testing a dataset. So Rob, at the RIVM, you're also testing the performance on ASReview, right? So to convince people to use ASReview, to test what works well, what models work well.
Well, we have different kind of users. So if you take a single person who does a literature search for their PhD, they will use ASReview once and they will use it with the default settings.
Yes.
But there are also groups of scientists who perform searches over the years. And if you know that you have specific papers concerning specific topics, then it's useful to try and find out, after you've used ASReview the first time, which model would have worked better.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for this group, it's very important that those models can improve, and so therefore working with the Synergy dataset is important.
Nice. I think it's time for our special moment in the podcast. We always invite our guests to think about ELAS adventures. So, we have many stickers of ELAS adventures, and we're wondering what is on your bucket list on what adventure should ELAS go to next. So we have a lion, we have a superhero. Peter wanted one with a chess outfit. Yeah, what would you like for ELAS' next outfit?
Well, hearing that Peter went for chess, I'm really inclined to say to play bridge.
To play bridge. Okay, nice. You, Rob, any requests for ELAS?
Well, I guess those are all the hobbies of those people. And my hobby is cycling. So
okay, yeah. It's Dutch. We're in Holland, right? So ELAS on the bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. So that brings us to the end of the second episode of Inside ELAS. Thank you so much, Rob and Emily, for being our guests today. We heard a lot about the importance of curated datasets like Synergy, where Emily puts a lot of time in together with her fellow ASReview buddies, not only for improving ASReview, but also to be used by 3 million others in the world for improving other software that leads to a transparent use of AI to escape out of the black box. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your fellow researchers, supervisors, or that one colleague who still screens everything manually. See you! For more stories, updates, and insights, follow us and stay tuned. ELAS can't wait to expand its community, making its little digital heart positively pulsing in binary with joy.